What's going on, Trailblazers? Sam here, back at it again for another video. And in today's video, I wanted to give my thoughts on Luocha and whether or not I think he's worth summoning for. Now in this video, I'm going to go over his kit, I'm going to go over his banner, I'm going to go over whether or not you should ideally summon for him based on your current cast of characters, and then also I'm going to kind of take a stab at what I think his long-term viability will be. But before we jump into that, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. This is a video game, it's meant to be fun. You should always summon for whatever character you want. If you think a character is going to improve your enjoyment of the game, you like their playstyle, you like their VA, you like their design, you should always prioritize that. This is a fun video game. But if you are looking for some additional insight or maybe an outside perspective because you're currently on the fence about, whether you should summon or not, I hope this video helps. So let's jump into his kit. Now, Luocha is a 5-star imaginary abundance character. Right off the bat, I think it's super poggy's imaginary. We currently only have Welt as our only imaginary character. Sadly, I don't have him. But with Luocha in his banner, we're getting 2 additional imaginary characters, him and Yukong. Pog, thumbs up. Now, what's also unique about Luocha is the fact that he scales off attack. Now, currently, we only have Natasha and Bailu. Both of them are HP centric, meaning their scaling and their healing comes from their max HP. But with Luocha, it's coming from his attack, and by building his attack, you're going to also improve his damage, which his ultimate does do some damage, which is very cool. So, right off the bat, I really like characters that are able to do multiple things. Obviously, his main prerogative is to heal your team, but the fact that he can also do some imaginary damage and do some additional break to enemies, good, thumbs up, I like that. Now, his skill essentially heals a single ally. Also, it provides a passive ability that allows him to restore a character's HP when it drops below a certain threshold. What's really cool about his skill is that this doesn't consume a skill point. Now, I don't know exactly what that threshold is, but the fact that you're able to provide healing to a character without utilizing a skill point means he is very skill point neutral, and that's really good as well, because ideally you're probably going to be running him with very attack heavy DPSs like Sela, who are very heavy on their skill point reliance. So I think the fact that you can also heal with Luocha without utilizing a skill point, I think that is phenomenal. Also, when you unlock Cleansing Revival, you can remove a debuff from your ally. So he can heal, he can provide a debuff, or he can remove a debuff from your enemy, from your teammates, and he can heal without using a skill point. Sweet. I think that is super viable and super valuable. Now, moving over to his talents, you're going to deploy an Abyss Flower, which once it reaches a certain stack, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but it's going to heal an ally every time they attack an enemy. So again, when you're utilizing these, hyper DPS carries like Su Shan or Jing Yuan or Sela or Kafka or Blade in the future, they're going to be being healed. So I think that's also very viable because ideally you're wanting to keep your DPSs alive. Sometimes they're very squishy like Su Shan. So I think the fact that you're able to heal, do damage, remove a debuff. Also, his ultimate will remove a buff from the enemy as well. So, Luocha is kind of quadruple dipping here. He can do damage, he can heal, he can remove a debuff from your teammates, and he can remove a buff from the enemy. So I think he's super viable. I think he's taking the best aspects of the current healers and he's adding to that. So I think personally he's going to be very viable. Now, basically, I would say if you already have Bailu, or if you have Japard, or definitely if you have both of them, I would not consider summoning for this character. I just don't think it would be a good use of your Stellar Jade, because essentially Bailu and Japard, especially if you have both of them, are going to provide enough survivability for your team. But if you don't have either of them, or maybe if you only have Japard, I still think Luocha is very valuable because we don't know when the next healer is coming, and it is unfortunate that, Hoyo is kind of forcing our hands to get Luocha if we don't have one of those other two, preservation or healer type characters. But I do think if you want Luocha for the Memory of Chaos, I definitely think that's where he comes, you know, comes very becomes very impactful. Now moving over to his banner. Now his banner I think actually has pretty good value. Like I mentioned previously, we're getting Yukong, who is a 4-star imaginary character. I'm not sure if we've really, you know, been shown what her kit does. I will say I she doesn't boost attack, but she does boost other stats that are very valuable for your main DPSs. Crit damage. Sorry, what was that? So I think Yukong is going to be really good. And we have Pella, who is an amazing debuffer. She can debuff enemies. She can also remove the Mora guys. She can remove their ability to revive, which is cool. And she can remove buffs from your enemies. So, anytime you're fighting one of those big, giant, scary robots and they give themselves an attack boost, you can actually remove that with Pella. So obviously Pella, as we know, has very good value. And then QQ, as I like to call her, she is a cool character. She is a AoE quantum-based character. Now, if you don't have Sela, I know a lot of people really like to use QQ. She is a strong character. I think she's pretty fun the way she plays Mahjong. My only problem with her is the fact that she does have a decent amount of RNG in her kit. But I think if you don't have Sela and you summon on Luocha's banner, I do think if you get some copies of her, I do think she's very, very worth building. Now, as far as Luocha's long-term viability, obviously it's really hard to gauge. You would say, we're only in the second month of this game. Probably not the best to hyper invest or use your Stellar Jade on a healer. But I think if you are really keen into pushing further into the Memory of Chaos and you don't have Bailu and or Japard, I think he's very worth it. I think he's going to pay off tremendously. And as far as viability, I mean, if you get him, you really don't need any other healers down the road. And he can do damage, and he can cleanse, and he can remove buffs from enemies. So I think he has tremendous value both now and long term. And if you do end up getting him, I don't think it's going to hurt you at all. Obviously, DPS characters are always going to be kind of the hot, sexy characters that we want to summon for. But all in all, they're usually the ones that get power crept the fastest. So I do think if you have, fear and trepidation of, summoning on Luocha's banner and not being able to get, a future DPS character, I think you'll be fine. Obviously, all these characters will rerun as well. So maybe if you want to push into Memory of Chaos now, you get Luocha, and then you summon for Blade on his rerun. So I think the options are endless. Personally, I am going to try and go for Luocha because I don't have Bailu or Japard, and I would really like to push further into Memory of Chaos. I just think he looks really cool. I think he's also kind of mysterious. I'm very curious what is in his coffin. So I think that's kind of exciting, but I might touch upon that in another video. But I think that's pretty much it. I covered his kit. I covered his banner. I covered whether or not you should get him based on your current cast of characters, and then kind of jumped into a bit of his long-term viability. But comment down below. Are you summoning for Luocha? Is he a hard skip for you because you're summoning for a Mommy Kafka or Daddy Blade or any other future characters? But that's pretty much it. I appreciate you all so much. Hope you have a fantastic day. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.